Okay, so this is going to be a walkthrough on the steps required to do a year end on the nominal ledger within Access Dimensions. So if we go to financials and look to see what period we're in here, we see that we're currently in period 10. And if I click on period end, I can then quickly tell that the system says the nominal is in period 10, sales is in 12, purchases is in 10, and the nominal working periods are set to whatever. Now you may or may not have the working periods option enabled. Let's just ignore that just for the time being. So within the sales ledger, the first thing we have to do then is we need to close the sales and purchase ledgers out for the current year. So to do a period end in the debtors or the sales ledger, I just go to the period end option. I'm already up to period 12. So I can do a period or a year end at this stage. If I do a period end, that'll just push me forward into period 13 on the database. So we can just kind of run through the steps there. So if you're familiar with doing period ends, there's no difference doing a period end at the end of period 12 as there is at the end of any other period. When I get to the 13th period, that's the last period available on the system. And at that stage, then the only option available is to do a year end. And doing year end is quite straightforward. In fact, steps are identical to doing any other period end. I just come onto the screen, I click on the green tick, I get a series of warning messages. So once the year end is running, users within the sales ledger will not be able to post transactions unless they're being batched. And now, is it okay to continue? So essentially, ideally, I like to get everybody to log out of Dimensions for the 30 seconds or 2 minutes it takes to actually run a period end or a year end. It just as a precaution on most systems, just get a list of the users within system control and see who's in, ask them to sort of step out for 2 minutes and just run the routine here. So let's just do that. We'll carry out a period end, or year end rather. Carry out the year end. We'll make the next period sales ledger period 1. Are you sure you wish to continue? We say yes, we are. We get more warnings then about taking backups, etc. And that's it. It runs through the steps. Now, when we do a year end on any of the ledgers, it takes a few more seconds to run. That's it complete. So it's still not a long process. It just means that it has now reset all the transactions from current year to last, and anything that would have been in next year will now have become current year. So we're now in period 1 of the new financial year in the sales ledger. Equally then on the purchase ledger, we need to do the year end there. So we're only in period 10 at the moment here. So we just carry out all the necessary period ends. And at the end of period 12, assuming that we've no transactions posted to period 13, we can bypass doing the period end for period 12 and go straight to doing a year end. And that's my purchase ledger year end complete. So now if I go back to my financials, I should see that the nominal ledger is telling us that it's currently in period 10, but both the sales and purchases are now in period 1 of the next financial year. And when we say next year, we mean next from the perspective of the nominal ledger. If we were to go into the sales or purchase, they would refer to themselves as current year, but when we post a transaction, it will end up in next year on the nominal. So let's just carry out the period end for period 10 in the nominal. So again, we're getting the same warning messages in each of the ledgers. Every time that we run a period end, we get these warnings. And in this instance, then we get an additional warning about transactions in the recurring journals, which is fine. In this instance, I could print them to screen or printer, but I don't need to. I'm just going to ignore that message. Do you wish to carry out the period end? Yes, I do. Period end is complete. So we're on to period 11. And again, we'll just kind of walk through those warnings again. That's period 12 done. Sorry, that's period 11 done, and now we're into period 12. And at the end of period 12, then again, you have the same option. You can either carry out a period end, which will bring you into the 13th period. And again, some organizations may choose to do that so that the 13th period may be available for any audit adjustments that they need. That's entirely up to yourselves. For our purposes, though, we've nothing in period 13, so let's just go straight to doing a year end. Now, we do get options about deleting transactions. I normally avoid this on Dimensions databases. You can carry as much information as your server can accommodate. So, in the event that you're reaching capacity, it's probably better just to get a bigger disk in the server rather than actually deleting transactions from the database, unless it's very old or the database has become very slow because of the volume of transactions. So we'll carry out the year end, just walk through the steps a little bit slower this time around. We're in period 12. We're going to do a year end. We click OK. Once the year end is running, users within the sales, purchase, and nominal ledger will not be able to post transactions unless they are being batched. Is it okay to continue? And we can say yes. By carrying out a year end, the next nominal ledger will be period 1 of the new financial year. Are you sure you wish to continue? And we say yes. Make sure you've made a backup. So again, warnings, you need to talk to IT or whoever is responsible for ensuring that backups are regularly taken on your database. So we'll assume that they have been done in this instance. And we'll say yes once again. Our one or more recurring journals have been posted less often than required. Do you wish to print a list of them? Now, on this database, I have journals going on for 2 and 3 years, so it's not unusual that I would get that message. I could review them, but I'm confident that everything is okay, so I do not need to list them. Do you wish to continue with the year end? If I say yes, it's going to go through the motions then of resetting the transaction pointers on all transactions. So as I say, anything that was in last year will have become prior year, current will become last, next will become current, etc. So that's it, that's the year end complete. So we just click OK to this message. We used to get a message warning us that we might need to advance the year start date depending on the version you're on. On this latest version of Dimensions, we don't get that message. If we just do a quick check in System Control, then we just go to Options and System Control Options and just go to the ledger defaults. We can check then when did our financial year start. So it's saying this financial year starts in May of 2020, and it gives us a listing then of when each period begins within this database. So having completed my year end, the next concern or the next thing to look at is have the reserves updated to the appropriate nominal account. So I'm just looking at a nominal account here within the profit and loss area, and I've just clicked on, once I've selected the account, I've clicked on info just to check to see that the year-end account in question here is this account. And if I go look at that account in the nominal, then I should see a balance or a turnover figure, a balance figure rather, materialize in the new financial year for that account. So best just to run your trial balance and ensure that the balance or the movement on that account equates to the surplus or deficit or profit and loss for the end of the year just completed. So once you've done that and all is good, you're happy to move forward. Now, generally on big databases, what I would recommend is that you carry out all of these steps on a test copy of the database first, and only when everything has worked according to plan that you proceed to do all of those steps again in the live database.